All right, guys, here we go. It's another edition of our What's Cookin' Wednesday. Today, we're going Italian. So what I'm gonna be cooking today is I'm gonna be making meatballs, and we're going lighter on the carbs because I'm still on a diet. So we're gonna be doing spaghetti squash and lean beef meatballs with a tomato sauce. Hope you enjoy it. All right, so the first thing I want to put in is some mushrooms because we're going to have some mushrooms and shallots and garlic and herbs with the lean beef in here. So I'm going to add the mushrooms first. Then I'm going to go ahead and pulse this, get these broken down a bit. Now I'm going to take the mushrooms out and put in the shallots and garlic. Get that blended in too. All right, we got our 2 shallots. Time to dice these up. All right, and in go the shallots. Now I'm gonna put 4 cloves of garlic. Better make it 5 just for good measure. All right, let's rough chop them. All right, now in goes the garlic. Time to blend it up. All right, now that we've got the mushrooms all chopped up in the food processor with the shallots and the garlic, now I want to get some herbs from the garden and then rough chop those to put them in there, and then we'll get some salt and pepper and add in the ground beef. All right, so we've got some basil, some thyme, some oregano, some Italian parsley, and some chives to go in there as well. This should be a nice herbal mix. All right, now that everything's chopped up, it's time to put stuff in a mixing bowl and get it all worked in together. All right, so first I want to put in the mushrooms. Then I'll put in the herbs. And then the beef. Now, let's add a little salt and pepper. And we'll mix it up. And then we end up with something that looks like this. All right, now I'm gonna roll these out into little meatballs. And then I'm gonna bake them first in the oven before we put them into the sauce. All right, meatballs are rolled out and ready to go. Time to get them in the oven. Putting them in at 375. And I'm just going to periodically check on them. And if you guys are wondering where I got the recipe for this, there is no recipe. I'm literally just kind of going through this on my own. And so we had some mushrooms, and so I got some more, and this is kind of an experiment on my own too. So I'm excited to see how this turns out. How do you normally like to make your meatballs? Do you make them from scratch? Do you buy them frozen? Tell me in the comments what you like to do for the meatballs in your pasta sauce. And now while those meatballs are cooking, I'm gonna start getting the spaghetti squash ready. So today I'm going to be using an orange spaghetti squash for what we are making today. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna slice this in half, take the seeds and the guts out of it, season it with a little bit of olive oil, some salt and pepper, and then instead of doing this in the oven like I normally do, I'm going to be doing this on the Traeger, on the grill. All right, now we're gonna drizzle on a little bit of olive oil. Salt and pepper. I'm just gonna rub that all in. All right, meatballs are done. Now it's time for me to taste one to make sure that they are all right. All right, now it's time to get that spaghetti squash on the grill. I got the Traeger all fired up. Got it set to 350. It's getting nice and hot. I'm just gonna clean this off. And now to get the squash. All right, now we're just gonna let that roll for about an hour, hour and a half here. Let those oils and the juices all seep into it. And then we'll flip that over and get a nice little char on the top. All right, now while the spaghetti squash is going on the grill outside, it's time to get the sauce with those meatballs we made earlier going inside. All right, so now we're gonna get going. First things first, we're gonna put in our onion. Get a little olive oil going in the pan here. We'll drop in our onion. Let that simmer until they get translucent. So I just realized I don't think I told you the rest of the stuff that I chopped up while we were waiting for that squash to go. So let me run you through that real quick. I already put in the pan one whole white onion, and then we've got the rest here. This is another 4 cloves of garlic. We've got some curly parsley, some thyme and oregano and basil in here that's going to go in the sauce. We've got 4 stalks of celery, 4 organic orange carrots, and then some orange and red bell peppers. And then we're going to be putting in some diced tomatoes with basil, garlic, and oregano, some organic tomato paste, and then I always make my sauce with a little bit of red wine. All right, so now those onions have sweat a little bit. They're starting to get a little translucent. So now we're gonna add in the garlic. Stir that around until it gets nice and fragrant. Oh yeah. And then in goes the celery. We'll sweat that down a bit. And then I'll come back in with the carrots. All right, now we're gonna hit it with our carrots. And then I forgot, we have 2 more packages of mushrooms we're gonna throw in. I really like mushrooms, so this is going to be a very loaded mushroom dish. And the thing I love about mushrooms is they look big in there right now, but once they cook down, you get that moisture in there and the mushrooms are going to just shrivel up and they're not going to take up that much space. Tons of good vitamin D in them. They're just really, really good for you. So now, I'm just going to hit this with a little more salt and pepper. I want to make sure it's seasoned well. And we'll let that go for a few minutes. And you know what? Just because I want to, I'm going to throw in a little aged white wine vinegar, just for a little acid. Yum. All right, now that's what I'm talking about. Getting those mushrooms cooked down. Take away all that volume. Now, I want to put in our peppers. And I'm actually going to put in our herbs now too. Let that cook down a little bit before we put in the tomatoes. And have I ever shown you guys my needy cat? He's a very needy cat. Hey, Loki? Yeah. He's a needy boy. He loves to make lots of noise. but he also loves pets and scratches. Good boy. Yeah. That cat is always around me, and I love him. It was just so funny, as I never used to be a cat person until I got that cat, and now he got me. He got me, because now we have 4. All right, now it's time to put in our tomatoes, our tomato paste, and our vino. All right. In go the tomatoes. Tomato paste. I'm not really measuring this. Like I said, this isn't really from a recipe. I'm just using what I think is going to be good from experience. Get all the rest of this out. So that was maybe like 1/3 of a can of, what, 6 ounces? So so maybe 2 ounces of tomato paste. And then I'll put in, just gonna put in the rest of this bottle of wine, whatever that is, and we'll stir this up. Now I may, depending on how this looks in a little bit, I may add one more. I've got one more can of tomatoes right over there. I may add one more. And I'm thinking right now, the way it looks, I am going to do that. And we'll see how it looks in a little bit too with the paste. I may put a little more tomato paste in. But right now it smells great. And I love chunky pasta sauce. Lots of veggies. Veggies are good for you. All right, so I think I decided I'm not going to put more tomatoes in, but I am going to put a bit more tomato paste. I'm going to put just a hair more white wine vinegar, and then top it off with a little bit of water. I do need to remember I have the meatballs coming in here too, so I don't want to make it too full. And then just a little bit of water. And I think that is good right there. All right, now while that sauce is stewing, let's go check on the spaghetti squash. That's starting to look good. That's actually starting to look so good, I think I'm actually going to turn the heat from 350 down to 225 and let it slow cook for another hour until my wife gets home. All right, I just pulled the squash off. Time to scrape it out and put the sauce on. There's the squash, and there's the sauce. And there is the finished product. And what's the verdict, honey?